Welcome, and salute to my man Cole Johnson, Cole Sports with a Z, for putting that together, the new intro with the new logo. Welcome to this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the lunch break. Once again, I am KG Chris Gardner, but once again joining me is Miss Khadija Pulliams. How are you doing, KP?
KG, I'm good, thanks.
And as always, I'm getting the habit of this for the next few months, next few weeks. The Houston Roundball Review Takeover is sponsored by Bayou Beat and the awesome Nakia Cooper Bayou Beat News. Oh, let's get fancy with it, KP. Let's get fancy if I can do this. But Bayou Beat News, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. Visit BayouBeatNews.com. And as I love these lovely things going across the screen there, bringing that Southern love to you, your daily news coverage. This hit me. This is a tangent.
Okay.
You, Nakia Cooper, Miss Wanda, are rock stars, supporters, helpers, assistants of the Houston Roundball Review. I checked. The majority of people who bought Houston Roundball Review merch, by the way, hint, order your Houston Roundball Review merch. You'll see links to it at the shop button. Click on that shop button when you see it posted on YouTube. Majority of people buying the merch are women.
Hey.
And I'm got to say, 85% women. So I say all this. I tie it all together, the support that I get from women. I was raised by my mom, my grandmother, my auntie, and my godmother. All four of them have passed away. But I have you, KP, I have Nakia, I have Miss Wanda, I have Maisha, Amy, Dana, all these women in my life who are keeping me going. So I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of Lunch Break and all the editions of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. Streaming live, but not really, because we're recording this again on Wednesday on Roku via the BS3 network. Download BS3. You got Roku, get BS3 network. Come on, just get it. Download. Do yourself a favor to download BS3, really. But you can watch the show, of course, on the Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the Houston Roundball Review. Doesn't hurt you at all. Just click on that bell so you can receive notifications when new shows are posted. KP, last week, we touched on it about why the rush for Willie Fritz, Houston Cougars head football coach, to make a move at offense coordinator with 1 week left in the season. We kind of, you brought it up. You right, why the rush? And then you kind of tossed out there, does he have someone in mind? And we joked and said, well, maybe he does, and maybe that hire is going to come Monday. Well, Monday's passed, obviously.
Right.
But we have some new information. Coach Fritz today had his press conference because today was the first day of the early signing period, which is now just 3 days for football. This Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the official one in, February?
First Wednesday in February.
First Wednesday in February. Okay. I'm going to play a clip. The transition will be a little bit slow, but Coach Fritz is going to talk about. If I do both clips. Let's do both clips. First, you're going to recap the season.
Okay.
And then he's going to talk about the news about the OC, but also Tuesday.
Oh, by the way,
Texas Tech hired, well, they made it official Wednesday, hired the Coogs defensive coordinator. So the timing was not great. You know, the rumor came out Tuesday that Shiel Wood was going to go from Houston, go to Lubbock. My man A.D. Moore says, Chris, you'd be surprised. There's a lot to do in Lubbock. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. A.D.'s son is a Red Raider alum. And I was like, okay, there, good for him. He said, yeah, Dad, that's as bad as you think. I still ain't going to Lubbock. I'm not living in Lubbock. I'm not doing it, whatever. But Shiel Wood took the job at the Raiders. Red Raiders, excuse me.
I mean, I like the Overton Hotel in Lubbock.
So, being you're a Big 12 person, you know about all those things. But first things first, let's get this going. All right. So I forgot I could do that. But first things first, from Coach Fritz, recapping the 2024 Cougs season, his first, of course, as head coach of the Houston Cougars football team.
Yeah, I was going to do a recap a little bit of the 2024 season. You know, we started off with 63 new players, so it was a new experience for me. We got in here a little bit late. This next Tuesday was when I got in and started doing stuff this upcoming Tuesday. So we were kind of behind the eight ball in terms of recruiting. It wasn't a lot of high school kids that were there. So we brought in 63 new guys. Proud of the fact that I think our coaching staff, support staff, everybody connected to the program. The former player, not the guys that were already on roster, everybody kind of embraced these new guys, and I had very few issues or problems, which when half your team is brand new, that's probably pretty rare. We had a big win over the number 15 ranked team in the country. That was the highest rated team that U of H had beaten in the last 7 years. So that was a big win for us. We beat the preseason favorites back-to-back weeks. You know, in the Big 12, we brought the Bayou bucket back to Cullen Boulevard, you know, with a 33-7 win over Rice. Something that I didn't talk about very much, but we had the 5th toughest schedule in the nation coming into the year, and someone told me the other day it might be higher than that when they go postseason. Our schedule that we had this year, we played a bunch of nationally ranked opponents and played a lot of hostile environments, and I thought for the most part we were very competitive every game that we played this season, and we're proud of that. You know, a 4-point loss at nationally ranked Oklahoma, and had a less than one score game going in the fourth quarter against BYU last Saturday, and took Baylor and Iowa State late into the ball game, and then we finished in the top 30 nationally in some team statistical categories. We're first in the Big 12 in punt return defense. We were second in the Big 12 in total defense, third in passing yards allowed, third in completion percentage this year, and also fourth in the Big 12 in first downs defensively. So there was some good things. We needed to finish some ball games out and put complete games together in all three phases. But I was proud of the fact that we competed, for 4 quarters in the majority of ball games this year.
All right, Kenichi. Before I play the second clip of Coach Fritz, what are your thoughts on what you just heard him say about the recap? Anything surprise you?
Not really. I mean, you have to spin it,
right?
And essentially, I'm not going to say year one is a throwaway, but he should not be judged and scrutinized based on year one, based on the timing of when he was hired. Essentially, he is trying to play catch up because, you get hired in December after the initial signing day. So you're scrambling for leftovers. You're trying to make inroads. You're trying to assemble your staff, make inroads. You have to re-recruit the players who are currently in the program that you want to stay. And then is the evaluation skewed because of the timing of when he was hired? So you take guys that you wouldn't necessarily want to build your program on, but you kind of feel forced to take them because there aren't a lot of options. I'm not going to say scraps. There aren't a lot of options out there for you to convince, unless you just totally demolished the Tulane program and bring everybody with you. But you look at the season Tulane had, but that's the thing.
He did not leave that cupboard bare.
Yeah, exactly. So like how many of them do you think, these players within the Green Wave program are Power 4 caliber players? But then at the same time, do you come in with clear eyes to be able to evaluate who's already in the program, and you're like, okay, we can go forward with him, or like this player, this staff member doesn't really fit my vision or align with my vision of where we're going to go? Or do you just kind of ride it out year one and you're just like, okay, let me just make the most of it. And then once you learn the program, learn their system, learn the coaches' tendencies, and just see like, hey, is it a cohesive fit? Then you encourage those players to seek other opportunities, or those coaches to seek other opportunities. Meanwhile, you target the players, the coaches, the support staff that you really want to build the program upon to move forward.
And he's already, I think, had some of those conversations with players.
Mm-hmm.
I know running back Parker Jenkins, who I want to say is a son of an alum, a Cougar alum, I think, and was a 4-star coming out of high school, but he saw limited minutes this season, especially after like the first 1 or 2 games, and other running backs took his minutes, took his snaps. So he decided to announce that he was entering the portal. I think fans kind of saw the writing on the wall after probably like game 5 when he wasn't playing, you know. And I mentioned to some of them during our Lesser Rage Coogs post-game shows, folks, if Parker decides to leave, go into the portal, I wish him well, no ill will. He may not be a Coach Fritz guy. He may not be a Coach Fritz player. That's okay. You know, it's not a
knock on either one of them.
Either one of them. This part of the business of
it doesn't fit.
It just doesn't fit. So I wish him.
But it's December is so tough, especially if you are a bowl eligible team.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to worry about, number 1, finals. Number 2, bowl preps. Number 3, recruiting and signing day. And oh, by the way, portal opens next Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So at least for Houston, you can remove the bowl eligibility. So while it's tough that you don't get those extra practices with the team, either for building going forward or in preparation, you know, for the bowl, because this would be an opportunity where, hey, the guys who saw a lot of action, who may not be completely healthy, you can like give them some rest, but use the bowl prep time to get some snaps and get some reps for some of the guys who didn't see much game action, just to really get a better idea of where you are heading into spring ball. But Houston doesn't have that opportunity. So now it's about just evaluating what you have with what you saw, and then having those conversations with the players that you want to be on the team next year, and then solidifying those relationships with those high school coaches, as well as making the necessary changes on his staff and locking up those high school seniors for signing day. So there's just a lot of juggling in December. December is just really tough.
And full disclosure, and everyone, when you watch the show Thursday, football, especially high school football recruits, that's not my area. So I'm not going to run off the press release or give you the names of players. I have no idea who those guys are. I know Austin Carlisle he signed with the Coogs. He's the best quarterback in Houston area. My colleague Bryce Bell, former running back at UH alum, running back at UH, is a high school coach. He says Austin Carlisle is the truth. If he were taller, he'd be a 5-star talent. He's like 5'10", 5'11". But he signed today. And
that's the other thing is, you know, just based on the UIL playoff structure, there are a lot of states and a lot of schools, football season is over. Like even state, they've had state championships. They're done. Not in Texas.
Right.
If you are good enough to still be playing, like, so meanwhile, you sign, but you still have to worry about practicing. So if you want to do the whole dog and pony show to announce like where you're going to school, Meanwhile, you have class
Yep.
and you have practice because your team is still in the playoffs.
And to that point, the playoffs, high school playoffs, still going on. I think the 6A state championships in Texas are happening this weekend. I think that's right. North Shore still playing. The football factory in Houston. Rice. Only reason I know this because I glanced at the press release from Rice. Signed North Shore running back. And it says he's still playing this weekend. I was like, oh yeah, state playoffs still going on. And he's like a 5'9" running back. So, chances are if he were taller, no shade to Rice, he probably wouldn't be going to Rice. But he committed to Rice, previous staff, and he signed with Coach Abel. I learned that's how you pronounce his name, Coach Abel, today. So Rice signed 12 players. So the little football tidbits that I know, I'm done for that now. But
and then you also have to keep in mind how the structure of college athletics is changing, with essentially basically everybody's going to be on scholarship. So you'll have the reduction of the walk-ons, the preferred walk-ons, the gray shirts. So now you have to assemble, and then it's still undetermined how much money outside of NIL deals these athletes will get paid.
yes, well put. Kenitra Williams, if you are a consistent follower of the Houston Roundball Review, this show, The Takeover, and a lot of other shows you've seen her a guest on, she knows her stuff. And that's why she's been gracious enough to share time with the audience and with me to share her insight. But yes, she knows her stuff. Big 12, KU, she knows. I'm not going to get into her age and all that kind of stuff. That's rude. She knows her stuff. Miss Wanda C. I'm a good person. My mama raised me right. Okay, back to it.
Okay.
Second clip from Coach Fritz. The first clip we saw about the recap was his intro press comments from the press conference. Now this will be his comments about Shiel Wood, defense coordinator, leaving. Texas Tech announced it on Wednesday. They hired Shiel Wood. So now the Coogs, in addition to OC, need a DC. The questions you hear will be from colleague Ryan Monso from GoCoogs.com and Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. And Ryan's questions, we'll get into this. Let's listen to this, KP.
Any questions?
Coach, Texas Tech announced Shiel Wood,
Mm-hmm.
their new defensive coordinator at noon. Can you talk about that, the process?
Yeah. Shiel did a great job for us. But we, would have liked for him to stay, but we just, it came down to a financial situation, and they were offering a heck of a lot more, and it's something we cannot do right now, and obviously we wish him and his family the very best.
You're saying U of H can't match the number?
Well, it's you have a budget, and in that area they seem to have a little bit more resources than us right now.
Willie, along those lines, you've had a week since you made the change at OC. Is you any closer?
I think I'm going to have somebody hired tomorrow. I don't want to say anything until we got the T's crossed and I's dotted and all those kind of things, but we're excited about it, and he's going to come in here and do a fantastic job for us.
You and this might tie into recruiting, but and your staff, but to have the OC opening and then the eve of signing day, word start to get out that you're losing your DC. You did a great job of keeping and retaining guys that were committed. You just talk about when you're up against that and
obviously, timing is not great all the time, but it's like the defensive linemen. The interior guys, Coach Giles did, majority of the recruiting for that. Our defensive ends, Coach Ross, et cetera, down the line, all the position coaches and other, coaches that are here as well, and the support staff writing letters and calling these guys. And we want them to have a connection with the University of Houston. And I told all these kids, also that, hey, this is my last job. and I'm going to be here, and we're going to have the same culture. You hope you keep all your coaches forever. You'd love to have that, but I'm not foolish. I know that there's going to be coaches that will come and go, but our culture will remain. And, I'm going to make sure of that.
Thoughts on those words, Miss Kenitra Williams?
Well, I mean, it was did not blink. Just like, we'll have somebody hired tomorrow. Okay. So again, yeah, it is a numbers game, both statistically, your record, and, there's a budget you have to adhere to, and while both are state schools, Texas Tech just had more money they could allocate how they saw fit. And, you can't really blame a coach for pursuing the best opportunity for he or she and their families, and also it just, and, yes, it's within the same conference, but, some people say, okay, hey, is it a lateral move or, what have you? But does this choice to leave Houston position himself for wherever he wants to go in his career?
And Shiel Wood, the job at Tech will be his maybe his 6th job in 7 seasons. So I think he's moved up. I mean, he's bounced around.
Doesn't unpack.
He doesn't unpack. He's getting paid now. I think he was at Georgia Tech for a while, so he's been on the power level before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not mad at him. Get the bag. Say the same thing I say to the players. Get that bag and to live with the consequences. You just accept what happens. If you realize you're new to this place, you have second thoughts. Well, in his case, he's 1 year, he moves on. So Texas Tech has been in the Big 12 longer than the Cougs. Mm-hmm. So they've had more media rights money for 25 years. So they got that part. They also have more wealthy alums willing to be friends with the program. They also have better attendance at the football games.
And their number one ambassador.
Yes. is Mr. Mahomes.
Who can roll out new gear, a jazzy new campaign, numbers are tight. So it just, and he is he's younger, he's relevant, so he can relate. So there's just a lot. It's shiny.
Right. And no slight on Pat Mahomes for supporting his alma mater.
Nope.
The Coogs have, I want to say, 12 players in the NFL. Mm-hmm. No one on the level of Patrick Mahomes. Nope. Okay, not yet. Ed Oliver's had his moments. Tank Dell has had his moments. But none of those alums have the bag like Pat Mahomes. Nope. Hopefully at some point soon.
I mean, Crabtree,
yeah. At some point in the future, the Cougs will hopefully have a all-world talent in the NFL and donate and give back money.
They have a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yes, and Andre, but that's how long ago was that? But yeah, so that's part of it. And as Coach Sampson has said many times, anybody who's willing to listen, or even if not willing to listen, he'll tell you the truth.
Sure.
UH is finally in the Big 12, but UH is behind all the teams who've been in the Big 12 for years. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, so it's going to take quite a while for Houston to catch up to that level. But one thing I really harp on, I guess kind of keep saying to my alums, one consistent way year in, year out for revenue, season ticket sales. Mm-hmm. Football season ticket sales. If they can count on 25, 30, Willie Gibson just laughed at me. 25, 30,000. Chris, that's nothing. That's like our 2 sections down in the lower level of the stadium. True. But for UH, Houston Athletics to have reliable 30,000 season tickets sold annually, that's money that the department could count on year in, year out. We're not there yet. So I keep saying we have to support our football team, not the opponent, but our football team. Things like this, Shiel Wood, let's try to minimize those in the future by having more season tickets sold. Football,
Yep.
basketball, baseball, women's basketball, all those things. It's the bottom of the hour, I think. But bottom of the hour, going to play the promo clip for BS3. You're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat. Thank you, Nakia Cooper. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Visit BayouBeatNews.com. Bayou Beat, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. She is a supporter and sponsor of the Houston Roundball Review. Thank you very much to her. Thank you, as always, to KP for her support. Thank you to the ladies in my life for supporting me and the Houston Roundball Review. I'm going to keep saying it. If you get tired of it, that's on you. That's a you problem. That's not my problem. But you're watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, here on Roku. Yes, on Roku via the BS3 network. Here's this promo. Play it. 35 seconds. We'll be back.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com. I am KG Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review, and with me is Kenitra Pulliams. KP, how are you doing once again?
I'm doing good, Chris.
All right, first part of the show, we talked about Coogs football. That's not really my area, college football, recruiting, coaches changes, all those things. That's KP's area. She knows everything about sports. My area is basketball.
Okay.
But
Any
as
questions?
I get rid of this Coach Fritz comment here, I want to do this. Let's start playing this. See if it appears. There we go. Oh, wrong thing. See that wrong button. All these things going. KP. I'm telling you for this stuff. There we go. Got to do this business-wise. Way to support the Houston Roundball Review. Those QR codes. Take a picture of your phone. You're watching this show live. Y'all got the fancy tech devices. Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, Houston Roundball Review via PayPal, Zelle, at some of y'all say some say the, THEHRR.com. Or if you want to be like Miss Nakia Cooper and advertise, be part of the business directory, $50, $50. Be part of the directory that lasts you throughout 2025. From now until the end of 2025, $50. Email advertise at thehrr.com. Hoops time. It's now time for hoops. Hoops. The net rankings came out for men's and women's basketball in the NTA. Just a little reminder. Quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the men. Q1, home, H 1 to 30. You see the numbers there. We'll discuss it more and more momentarily. Women's college basketball for the first season of the net is a little bit different. We'll touch on that momentarily. But KP, you are a follower of the Big 12. Big 12 men's hoops is not doing so well in Big 12 men's hoops. They have had some hiccups. And I'm not sure what those hiccups, what do you think the hiccups are? Why are they having problems? What is the reason for the problems, the hiccups in basketball so far? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, there's just, as they say, there's parity in college basketball, and, they want to tout the Big 12 as the best, top to bottom. Kansas has been challenged, but they've been able to, I think, overhaul their roster. There's depth. They're able to shoot from distance. So they've been able to, find a way to win. I mean, because it's not like they've played cupcake schedule. with wins, over UConn, wins over Duke, wins over North Carolina. So they've been able to stay above the fray. Cincy stubbed their toe, the Big East, Big 12 Challenge, stubbed their toe against a desperate Villanova team, trying to save, Kyle Neptune's job. BYU, you get a new coach, but I mean, they had been doing well, so it just, and then Houston's loss in overtime to San Diego. I mean, like, you go to Vegas to try to win some money.
That's why they're get $1 million minimum, maybe $2 million.
And maybe the overtime hurt them. But this is November is about kind of finding your way. And while it's disappointing to lose any game, if it makes you better in March, you'll take it. Right. I mean, who would have thought UConn would be struggling, would go 0 in Hawaii? But again, you go to overtime, and it's really tough to recover for 3 games in 3 days.
Yeah. The Coogs, they played 2 overtime games in Vegas, lost. They were ahead in 3 of their losses. The game they lost, they were ahead the last 4 or 5 minutes in all 3 of them, but they haven't closed yet.
But I mean, and that's the thing, is like, there's no shame in the loss to Auburn. I mean, Who knew that Auburn would just be like, all right.
And they are the best team in the country. Kansas is number 1 to Polton. No, Auburn's the best team in the country.
Yeah. So.
But back to this. Something that Brett Yormark is not going to tout. This is not last year. This is the net through games played December 3rd. Kansas is 8. Houston is second ranked Big 12 team at 21. Last year, the left side of the numbers, 1 through probably 8, didn't go past like 30. Okay. I mean, it was just very impressive, but it's not bad. Those 8, Houston 21, Iowa State 22, Baylor 23, Cincinnati, because after they lost to Nova, they were, I think, 11 on Monday when the poll came, first net rankings came out. Arizona State 30, West Virginia beat Gonzaga. Thank goodness for that win. Brett Yormark can tout that one. Texas Tech 36. So that first 8 is okay. But look, 9 through 16, the gap between 8 and 9 was not that big last year. It goes from 36 for Texas Tech to 62 for Arizona. Wildcats are 3 and 4, so they're struggling. Good competition. But 62, that's not great. Utah, 64. BYU after getting smacked by Providence, 69. UCF, 85. Colorado, 92. Kansas State, Jerome Tang's 3rd year, 97. That's not a good, Coach Tang. I've known you for 35 years or something. That's not a good thing, having a net ranking that high. I know Big 12 conference play is going to have a lot of quality games, but you got to do better. Non-conference strength of schedule. TCU 107, Oklahoma State 128. Anything strike you, surprise you with those numbers?
No, I mean, hey, only one team with a losing record. Silver lining.
There is that.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the thing. If you don't get invited to one of the exemption tournaments, I mean, you really, even if you do, you can't control who you play. Right. Like, the organizers of said event, they determine the schedule. You can determine some of the other games, and there's, you get all the bye games that you just kind of have to, like, hey, you want to help out, you want to help fund other teams, athletic departments, KU playing Furman. So you go ahead and do that. But, I think, once conference play starts, Do they sit there and cannibalize each other and beat up on each other, or does it just scales kind of tip, in the Big 12's favor, if there is some separation,
Yeah, that
with,
might be a good thing this year.
let's say the top 8,
Joe Lenardi's ESPN bracketologist. He still has 9 Big 12 teams in the tournament, Big 12 men's teams in the tournament. So, I mean, that's still a positive. It's not. This is the SEC's year. Their basketball has been the best. They 9-1 on day one against the ACC.
Yeah. So they clinch it on day one. Don't even really.
So
yeah.
They're rolling. So commissioner, they can wave the flag and see your mark, keep your mouth shut, kind of stuff. Whatever. But I'll flip it around in this vein. You kind of touched on it. Would you rather be tops in non-conference, or would you rather have 6 teams make the Sweet 16?
Right.
Silly. 2 teams make the Final Four.
Yeah, if you can get to the second weekend of the tournament.
So it's a little different. And the Coogs, Coug fans, you're watching this show. Men's team is a 4 seed in Lenardi's latest bracketology, and that 4 seed is, I want to say, in the Atlanta region. So that's not far. You can get there easy. It's the South region, so that's not a bad thing. But of course, this is December, so things will change between now and March Madness and the brackets and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I'll touch on that a few times here on these takeover shows. Women's side, Big 12 women's basketball not doing great either, but I want to show their first year net quadrants. A little bit different than the men. Quadrant 1 win 1-25. A little bit different than the men. Neutral 1-35, away 1-45. Q2 26-55, neutral 36-65, on and on. But for comparison's sake, let me see if I can do it real quick here. Look at the difference. 1-30, 1-50, 1-75 for Q1 on the men's side. Q2 away 76-135. Q3 136-240. Women's side 81-130 is a Q3 win in women's basketball. A road win. 81-130. Wow. And look at the Q4. A 131 and up is a Q4. Gee, I'm not sure what to make of that. But that's interesting. Your thoughts on that? Because you know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going with this.
I mean, it's tough because, but at the same time, it's not. You can't compare, I think, one to the other. I mean, just because, number one, women's game is played in quarters, men are in halves. Women's NCAA tournament, they play on home sites.
Yep.
So it's a different game to separate them. So,
well, I mean, do you think? Does it say that it's tougher to win on the road in women's basketball? Tougher or easier? What does that say to you? Those road numbers for quadrants. Any thoughts?
I just think I think it's a talking point.
Okay.
We know the attendance is not the same by and large in the women's game that it is in the men's game.
But here we go. Big 12 women's basketball net rankings. The top team in the Big 12 women's basketball. Bless them. Thank you very much, TCU, Sedona Prince, Haley Van Lith, Coach Mark Campbell. Thank you for your quality wins. Thank you. This Sunday, December 8th, 6 o'clock Central Time, ESPN 2, I think. TCU plays South Carolina in Fort Worth. Dickies Arena. Looking forward to that matchup. Should be an interesting contest. Hopefully it's much more interesting than the South Carolina-Iowa State matchup, which is just brutal and embarrassing. I'm a Cyclones fan. Coach Finley. That was bad. Oh, that was bad. What was the run? Iowa State scored the first 3 points, and there was 32 zip run after that. I think that was right. My goodness, and that was. And look at that. Look at Iowa State. Their net ranking is 58.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be in the 70s. I think Tuesday was in the 70s. That's one of the bell cows of the Big 12 women's hoops, supposedly coming into the season. Ooh. But the good news, TCU at 5, West Virginia at 10.
Only lost being to Texas, former Big 12 team.
And that was a good game. It was a competitive game. Kansas State 11. K-State will be at Reed Arena this Sunday against Texas A&M. I might go to that game. I haven't decided yet. I might go to that game. Depends on the weather. Baylor 25. Utah 32. Oklahoma State 37. Iowa State 58. Texas Tech 62. Kansas 68. Arizona 72. Colorado 79. Cincinnati 91. BYU 103. UCF 111. Arizona State, the last of the 4 Pac-12 schools, 157. And then last, by a whole lot, at 236, the Houston Cougars women's basketball team, who was 2-6 on this young season. Kenitra, I did some checking. That 236 ranking for the Cougs is the worst net ranking of any Power 4 program. ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12. The Houston Cougars have the worst net ranking of any Power 4 program. There's nothing else that needs to be said, folks. There's nothing else. 11 years. I'm just going 11 years. 11 years. That's all I'm going to say. 11 years. But this is another indication that a lot of great hoops here in H-Town this season. Houston Cougars men's team, 21 in net ranking. Rice, Coach Rob Lanier, first year at Rice, they're 7-2. They had a 143. And then everybody else, TSU, Prairie View, HCU, they do have wins. All 3 of those teams do have wins, but they're not Division I wins. So as regarding the net only counts Division I wins. That's why you see 0-6 for all of them. But I will say HCU's, their Division I opponents, their games, they've lost by like 3 points. UC Michigan like a 4-point loss. They've come close in their losses, unlike TSU and Prairie View, unfortunately. Women's side, Rice, the top-ranked Houston area women's team at 127. KP, I think I texted you on Monday. On Monday, the first net ranking, HCU was ranked 238, behind Houston at 236. As of December 3rd, HCU is now ahead of Houston. It's just by 1, but still. That's how far Houston Cougars women's basketball has fallen, that they are behind Houston Christian women's basketball in ranking. 11 years. 11 years. That's all I'm going to say. 11 years. 11 years. So that's how I'm going to end it right there. 11 years. Okay. Your thoughts on those numbers there. What do they say about Houston area hoops right now this season?
There's room for improvement?
Sure is. A lot.
Yeah, it's
a down year for almost all the programs. And of course, TSU and Prairie View, they're playing a lot of check games. Okay, so they're getting paid to lose.
Bye.
Yes, there's a lot of bye games. And HCU men's hoops is in, first-year head coach. Rice, first-year head coach.
Right.
Rice women, their loss to South Dakota State to open the season wasn't a surprise because South Dakota State is a quality program. But it was disappointing because it was ring night for the Owls, and Coach Edmonds, did a lot to promote the game and wanted the fans to come out there and all those things, and they just couldn't seal the deal and get the dub. So that was disappointing. And then the season's kind of, for Rice, kind of been, They play well, but they don't finish games. And they're in a conference in the American Athletic Conference. It's probably a one-bid league, so they can't do any more. They cannot. It doesn't really matter anymore
Right.
what they do non-conference. They got to get it done in conference play and win the AAC championship, which will take place in Fort Worth at Dickies Arena for the last time for the foreseeable future, because Commissioner Tim said that this will be I think they'll be moving on to another city. Haven't announced that city yet for the next few years for the AAC men's and women's basketball championships starting in 2026. That'll do it for this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com, Bayou Beat, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. Miss Kenitra Pulliams, thank you again for taking time to share your insight. Is there anything you want to add, touch on, that we haven't discussed?
No, I think it's a shame that you get a top 10 matchup between Marquette and Iowa State relegated to ESPN Plus.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's an excellent point. And it shows you, because that's a Big 12 school and a Big East school. It shows you ESPN is really pushing the ACC and the SEC, their linear networks. Maybe next year, that's one thing. Maybe Commissioner Val Ackerman and Commissioner Yormark work together and get the Big 12 Big East Challenge on TNT, TBS, WBD next year. Maybe you need to make that.
I mean, but that's but you get Creighton and Kansas on FS1
or FS1. Put on Fox.
FS2.
Something. But yeah, something to especially because those two conferences, Big East, UConn, the two-time reigning champs, the Big East and the Big 12 really push themselves as being the top two conferences in men's basketball.
Yeah.
Well, you need to get your games on the linear platforms. Make it happen. Make it happen. For Kenitra Pulliams, I am KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day on this Thursday at lunch, watching this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat. Visit BayouBeatNews.com. The Takeover is powered by JM&E. The Takeover is available on ROKU via the BS3 network. We'll be doing it again next Wednesday for recording to air live on Thursday. Everyone, thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments. And of course, folks, always click on those links, those shop button links to get you some Houston Roundball Review merch. Fellas, I said at the top of the show, 90% of the folks, the purchases of the merch have been by women. That's great. But guys, talking about some merch too. Don't be shy. It's not a guy thing, a female thing. Support the Houston Roundball Review. To that end, y'all know it. I'm proud to say it. 30 plus years since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Everyone,